Hi there. My name is Ivar Grimstad. I'm the Jakarta EE Developer Advocate at Eclipse Foundation. And today I'll talk about Jakarta EE Core Profile. And the subtitle is A Slimmer Jakarta EE. And I'll explain a little bit in a while why I'm using this subtitle. Some words about myself. You can see my Twitter handle here, my GitHub and LinkedIn accounts. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, comments, or anything you're wondering about regarding Jakarta EE or Eclipse Foundation or open source in general. I'm involved in a lot of these open source communities. I'm in the Java Community Executive Committee, obviously in the Jakarta EE Working Group at Eclipse Foundation. I'm also involved in Apache Software Foundation with the NetBeans project there, and I run a local Java user group in Malmö in Sweden. And for all of this, I've been awarded the Java Champions. So let's have a look at what we're going to cover today. I'll start by just giving a very quick overview of Jakarta EE 9.1, which was just previously released. Then I'll go into and talk about the new Jakarta EE Core Profile and how it's related to Jakarta EE 10. The website where you can find all information about Jakarta EE is jakarta.ee. It's super simple to remember, and if you're remembering one thing from this talk, this is the URL to remember. So jakarta.ee, just type it into the browser and save it in the history there, and you get to go. Jakarta EE, or the implementations of Jakarta EE, are available and is available on the Jakarta EE webpage. You can navigate to it from the front page or go directly on this link, compatibility/download. And what you'll find there are 16 different compatible Jakarta EE implementations. These are spread across the different versions and the profiles of the platform. But in total, there are 16 different implementations of Jakarta EE currently, and there are new coming all the time. So this will increase over the time. So just pick your favorite flavor here and download it and try it out. So Jakarta EE 9 or 9.1. As you probably remember, last year in November, we released Jakarta EE 9. And Jakarta EE 9 had Java SE 8 support. So we had to do this step of releasing a minor release, which we called Jakarta EE 9.1 with the Java SE support, and that was launched in the end of May this year. And the key focus areas for EE 9.1 are the same as they were for EE 9. And these are to lower the entry barriers. We want to make it easy for new vendors to enter the market. And you can see by the previous slide with the 16 different implementations that this is kind of a success. We're lowering the entry barriers, and by stating this, we mean that we remove things that aren't needed anymore. So we have made optional some parts of the specifications that are considered more legacy parts. And we will continue this process of making this platform thinner, leaner, and slimmer. The other focus areas we have is easy migration from previous versions of Java EE and Jakarta EE. And the reason why we have to do this is because we did the namespace change from JavaX to Jakarta for all the Java packages, for all the properties and the XML namespaces. So in order to migrate from a previous version of Jakarta EE to 9 and 9.1, you have to perform this namespace change. And there are tooling there to help you with this that can do transformation of your bytecode, or you can do it on source level, or there are guides to do it manually. But this migration from JavaX to Jakarta is something that is needed, and it impacts the entire community. And we're very happy that it's actually being adopted now. And the latest addition to products that have adopted the Jakarta namespace is Hibernate ORM, which was certified last week as a Jakarta persistence compatible implementation, and they support the Jakarta namespace. And there are more as well. So we think we've succeeded with this of easing the migration as well. The one I'm going to cover in this talk is the platform for innovation. And by having this as a focus area was that we kind of had done the boilerplate stuff that we needed to do in order to get Java EE from the JCP over to Eclipse Foundation and Jakarta EE. And I think we are now ready to start innovating and going forward with newer versions of Jakarta EE. And the activity that is going on in our communities show that this is happening right now. And the thing we're working on right now is Jakarta EE 10. And currently we are in the plan and development phases of the Jakarta EE specification process. So you can see here we have some built-in review points to make sure that we're following the process and to lock in the IP so everything is secure and it's open for you to use when it's released. And we're in the middle of performing the plan reviews for the different specifications, and some of them have started the development towards the future versions. And one of the new specifications is the Jakarta EE Core Profile. And why are we doing this? Why are we introducing a new profile? Well, first of all, let's look at what the platform consists of today. And as you can see, this is a suggestion for how the Jakarta EE 10 platform can look like. I've used the legend at the bottom there, that you can see the blue ones are the specifications that are updated or has submitted plan reviews. There may be updates to the other ones, the gray ones as well, but they haven't submitted plan reviews yet. But as you see, there are lots of updates to a lot of specifications, and there are a couple of new ones there as well. You can see there are quite a few major updates and quite a few minor updates. So this is all the specifications that are part of the platform specification. And if we look at the implementations that are Jakarta EE 9.1 platform compatible, it's Eclipse Glassfish, it's Managed Fish Server, it's Open Liberty and Wildfly. And these are implementations that gives you the opportunity to use the entire platform. So let's look at how it looks like if we take away the platform features and look at the web profile. As you can see on in the yellow square here, you can see these are the enterprise more specifications, and that are part of the platform, but not of the web profile. So if we remove these, you'll see that we have the Jakarta EE 10 web profile, or the suggested one, because we may move around some specifications here and there. And for the ones who are very observant here, you can see that concurrency 3.0, the second one from the top, is new here, because that was previously only part of the platform. But there are someone who wants to move this into the web profile, so it's been proposed to be a part of the web profile. We've also added a new specification, MVC 2.1, as a potential addition to the web profile. None of this is certain that will happen, but these are suggestions that we are working on. And if you have any input to this, you should join the mailing list and start helping us out and doing this. But there are still a lot of specifications here. And if we look at some of the implementations that are implementing it, you can see that it's more or less the same ones that implements the full platform. You can see an addition here is Apache Tommy, which is finally got their certification, and this is something they've been working very hard with, and hasn't been able to do because of the license requirements in the JCP and how it was done with Java EE. But now that everything is open in the Eclipse Foundation, they're able to certify, and they are certified for the web profile. And the others are a web profile and platform. So let's take the web profile and tear it a little bit apart. And if I've grayed out the specs here that are more focused on web UIs and making web applications. And if we remove these, we're left with a set of specifications that are a suggestion for the new Jakarta EE Core Profile. And you can see here, it's very microservice focused. You have the Restful Web Services, the JSON specifications, and then the kind of the foundation things with the interceptor annotations and dependency injection. And a new specification there, CDI Lite. It's kind of bluish and yellow because it's a part of CDI 4, and they're splitting out a part of it that they're calling CDI Lite, and I'll go into the details of what it means afterwards. And there is a brand new one called Config. So we've just proposed a new specification called Jakarta Config, which will be working together with committers from the microprofile config and see what we can do together to make a Jakarta specification out of it. And they've just started discussions, and this is the time to join that mailing list if you want to be involved in what's going on there. And here is also something that is very subjective. It's possible, potentially, Jakarta EE Core Profile compatible applications could be applications like Helidon, Quarkus, or Micronaut. And these are new players, and they have no intention of becoming web profile or platform. So this is kind of the why core profile. So, but by adding this core profile, which is focused on microservices, we open up for these other implementations to be Jakarta EE compatible. And this is an important step in going towards the cloud native landscape where we're going to, and also make things more Kubernetes friendly. So what you can say is the Jakarta EE Core Profile is targeting smaller runtimes. And let's go and look at some of the details. And first, I'll dive into config. So Jakarta Config, the intention there is to solve the same problem as microprofile config does today. And it could be a replacement for microprofile config, or it could be a smaller, lighter version that microprofile config extends. That is kind of the discussions that are going on. But what Jakarta Config will provide is portable configurations from environment-aware sources. And if you want to look at the details of Jakarta Config, you can go to jakarta.de/specifications/config. And from there, you can navigate to the Eclipse project pages and find the GitHub repos and mailing lists and all the resources for the committers. And I'll look at some example that could be solved with config. And this is exactly the same as you would do with microprofile config. And you would be able to annotate a property. In this case, it's a string called place. And depending on what configurations you have in your environment, if you have a system property where place is set to system world, that is what will be injected. If you haven't, if you don't have that, but you have an environment variable called place, the environment world would be injected. Or if you have a config file in your application, then that property file world will be injected. And this is the same kind of default configuration sources that are specified by the microprofile config specification. and the Jakarta config will most likely be very much similar, if not exactly very similar. So this is kind of what you would be expecting from Jakarta config. The next one we're going to look at is CDI Lite. And CDI Lite, the thing that we're trying to solve with CDI Lite is to remove a little bit about of the dynamic features of CDI. So it will be designed to work in more restricted environments. And by this, we mean that by removing the dynamic properties, it will be easier to compile this to native and use, for example, a GraalVM to compile native images and make your runtime smaller. And this is something that Quarkus and Helidon are doing today. So this will be helping towards that kind of environments. And the information about the CDI Lite you can find under the CDI project, which is on Jakarta EE/specification/CDI, and there you can find all the information about the GitHub repos and the plans forward. So some of the things they are doing is to create a new extensions API, because one of the central things of CDI is the portable extensions. And these are not very friendly for build time. If you want to create the native images on build time and resolve all these things, because it's very dynamic in nature. So a new extensions API to not replace, but to be an addition to the existing portable extensions is something they're working on. They're also changing the beans XML behavior, default behavior, because today the default behavior is all, and in CDI Lite it would be annotated. That's at least what they're discussing, and all this is to make it easier to compile to native. They're also working on a lot of other things to accomplish this. And the intention is that CDI Lite would be a subset of the CDI full profile. The next one we're going to look at is Restful Web Services. And Jakarta Restful Web Services, what they are intending to do in the next version is to try to utilize Jakarta Config and also align with Jakarta CDI Lite. And all the information on Jakarta Restful Web Services can be found under Jakarta EE/specification/Restful WS. And they actually have two different plan reviews submitted. So they will have a 3.1 version out in this summer, and a version 4 of those later this year. And there may be a other 3.0 release in between, but they haven't submitted any plans for that yet. One of the things they are doing with their CDI alignment is to get rid of the @context annotation. So if you remember from JAX-RS and the current Jakarta REST specification, if you want to access the URI info, you need to inject it with the @context annotation. And they want to remove @context and replace it by @inject. And there are also a lot of other places where they're moving, going away from the proprietary annotations that were used in previous versions and replacing them by the CDI counterparts. So Jakarta REST will be a backwards incompatible release with the previous versions of Jakarta REST. The next we're going to look at is JSON processing and JSON binding. And these specifications are, as you can see, only minor updates. And what they will do in their .1 releases are to add features that are requested or wanted by the community. It won't be any major things. It would be backwards compatible with version 2.0, but there will be kind of small things that makes life easier for the developers. The gray ones are, they have not submitted any plan reviews, and they are probably that stable that they don't need to, because they are there, it works. You don't need to add much there. So we don't expect any changes to these specifications. They will be there and they can be used, and they're good as they are. I'm guessing a little bit here, but I'm guessing the Maven dependency for Jakarta EE Core Profile would be something like this. It's the same Maven attributes as the web profile, only web is replaced by core. I'm pretty sure we will follow that naming standard. So we're also considering other things for Jakarta EE 10. And one of the things that we are discussing pretty heavily on the platform calls right now is the release cadence. Because we've been talking about, should it be a yearly release cadence? Should it be every 6 months? Or should it be 2 years or 18 months? Or we kind of threw out every possible combination of months while we're discussing these release cadences. And one of the things we are looking at now is, should we align this somehow to the Java SE versions? So as you probably know, the LTS versions of Java SE is coming out every 3 years. Should it be an option for us to kind of align and have a major release aligned with a Java SE release every 3 years and have minor updates in between? Or how are we going to do this not to confuse anyone? Because what we're also planning is to release the profiles independently if they need to. That means that potentially we could have a Jakarta EE Core Profile coming out later this year or next year, and we can have a Jakarta EE Web Profile coming out sometimes before or after that, and Jakarta EE Platform maybe some time after that, when everything has been caught up. But that is something we are discussing now, and we are trying to finalize and getting to agree on something that makes sense for the vendors that are going to implement their specifications, for the community that are working on the specifications, and for the users of the technology that are, some of them are wanting new features and some of them are happy where they are. So we kind of have to align with everybody to make everybody happy. As I said, we want to align with Java SE versions, and Jakarta EE 9.1 is requires certification on Java SE 11. But the APIs are still using Java SE 8 language level. So what we're probably looking at is that Jakarta EE 10 would raise the language level to Java SE 11 and allow certifications to any versions higher than SE 11. So you can potentially have a implementation that runs on Java 17, but you wouldn't be able to use the 17 language features in the APIs until Jakarta EE 11 comes out. So we're looking at these, kind of connected these two items, the release cadence and the Java SE versions alignments. One thing to enable us to do these independent releases of the profiles and the platform is to decouple the TCKs, because it's they are kind of interrelated, and some of them are dependent on each other. So we have circular dependencies between some of the test suites, making us, so we have to release something in order to release something else. And we're looking at how can we decouple this while still maintaining the security of the compatibility that we have, so we don't break anything, but we want to decouple and refactor the TCK. Okay, sorry. I don't know why these come here. So let's sum up a little. And we have Jakarta EE 9.1 that supports Java SE 11. It's out there. You can use it today. There are 5 different implementations, and they were available from day one when we launched Jakarta EE 9.1. And that shows that we have succeeded with the lower entry barriers. The Java X2 Jakarta namespace is there. It's a part of Jakarta EE 9, and you have to handle it somehow. Jakarta EE 10 is on the way. We're working on it. Unfortunately, I cannot say anything about the release date yet, but we're making it slimmer, and with the core profile, we are better suited than ever for cloud-native deployments. The Jakarta EE Core Profile is targeting smaller runtimes and making ahead-of-time compilation possible. And here are some resources for you. The Jakarta EE webpage, as I said, is jakarta.ee. That's where you find all information related to Jakarta EE. And you have the Jakarta EE Core Profile is on Jakarta EE/specifications/core profile. That's where you find information about what's planned for core profile. And also you will find the different releases when they're released. And also, please do follow my blog. I write at least a weekly hashtag Jakarta EE, and it's submitted here and there, but on my webpage on agiljava.eu is where you can find it, a weekly hashtag Jakarta EE, to stay informed about what's going on in the Jakarta EE community. That is what I had for today. So I thank you very much for listening. And I see that we have a question here. And the first question is, how do Jakarta EE Core and microprofile relate? Isn't the latter the one which might be implemented by microservice frameworks such as Quarkus already has? Yes, Core and microprofile is very much related. And one of the reasoning behind the Core profile is to make the microprofile implementations possible to be Jakarta EE Core compatible, and also to help us develop these specifications in the right direction. Because as it is today, microprofile depends on a couple of Jakarta EE specifications, but they don't really have a TCK to be able to validate it. As well as one of the specifications they depend on is CDI, and due to all the dynamic features of CDI, it's hard for these implementations to actually be compatible with the entire CDI spec. That's why we want to do a CDI Lite, and also to kind of cater to these implementations. Why do we need Jakarta EE Core Profile if Eclipse microprofile is already there? It isn't microprofile already targeting small cloud-native microservices? Yes, but I think I answered that in the previous question, that currently there are no real certification for microprofile, so you cannot really ensure portability across implementations, but by offering the core profile as a basis for microprofile, you'll be able to certify and be sure that they are portable across implementations. How is migration path from one major version to another major version? I guess you're talking about the Jakarta EE specs. That will depend from version to version. From 8 to 9, we introduced the namespace change. So the JavaX to Jakarta namespace change is the big thing from 8 to 9. From 9 to 10, it will depend on how we land with the different specifications, but we will make sure it's fairly obvious how to migrate. Okay, so why do you step back from what was said in earlier presentations of Jakarta EE, where a fixed time-based release cadence was promised? I'm sorry if we've promised it. I'm hoping for a fixed time-based release cadence. That's what we're working against. The 1-year cadence is still on the table. It's one of the items up for discussion. So if you have any strong opinions about that, please do join the discussions and state your opinion there, because the more people that say that 1 year is a perfect cadence for Jakarta EE, then it's more possible that that will be it. Will all microprofile specs be integrated into Jakarta EE, possibly into different profiles at some point in the future? Well, seeing into the future is not easy, so kind of impossible. So we'll just have to wait and see. There are no plans for it currently, and maybe it will never happen. Maybe it will happen. Currently, the steps taken with Jakarta EE Core Profile and doing the config into Jakarta EE, it's kind of a we're trying it out, see how it goes, and who knows. So I think that were all the questions. And so I'll thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the talk. And as I said, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or any comments or anything. So thank you very much for listening, and enjoy the rest of the conference.